Welcome to Bloom Today. We have an exuberant show for you. We'll be discussing when adoption isn't the solution. We talk about internal and external brokenness and how you can heal
so that you can use the fertilizer of your past to bloom today. Welcome, everybody. We're so excited that we're here talking about adoption doesn't what? Doesn't work. It doesn't work.
It works, honey. Sometimes. It's just not our solution.
Oh, I was like, how does adoption not work?
Well, when you sign the papers and you hand over, I mean, legally, it all works out.
Oh, but we're talking about how it doesn't necessarily fix things.
Right, right. I mean, we all have some fantasy that something is going to fix our lives and something is going to just be the one thing that's going to clinch everything. And we hang our hat on that thing. And for some, it's adoption. But in reality, we live in a broken world. The adoption that we really need is the adoption into God's family.
Yeah, I was going to say, I had a foster mom, and that should have been the fix in a situation where my parents weren't available, right? Mm-hmm. But it wasn't, because that's where all the abuse started in my story. Right. And that set me up for cycles of abuse after that and really messed things up. So I'm aware that there's all kinds of damage that can come up with specific situations. But it's funny how we want to make it a set thing that's a fix. Mm-hmm. So if it's an orphan, then just get them adopted. That fixes everything. It's the happily ever after. Right. If you're single, just get married. That is going to just fix everything.
Yeah. Adopt their family. Adopt your in-laws as a family.
Yeah. If you need a job.
Seems like a very sound strategy.
For real. And if you need a job, just go get a job. Even if it's the one that turns into a federal lawsuit because the abuse is so bad inside the job. But the thing is, we as humans want a tangible fix for everything, instead of actually running to the Heavenly Father, the intangible thing that is the fix, the person, the relationship that is instead.
Yeah, belonging to God, belonging to the creator of the universe, the one who designed you and wanted you and always wanted you and will always want you and wants you enough that he died, came to earth, a stinky, yucky, broken, messed up place as Jesus, and then died on the cross, gave up his life and suffered and was tortured. All of that so he could spend eternity with you. That was his adoption process.
Which is just crazy to think about how difficult it is to actually run to the real solution when we want to run away from the pain. We want to run away from the circumstance. We usually go everywhere before we actually run to the answer and the solution that is going to be there. Yeah. And I sure have so much of that in my story where I knew about God and I actually talked to him all the time. I had a relationship with him and I still wanted to run everywhere except to him in the places that I was hurting and broken, because we want to escape the problems and have a fantasy fairy tale. What? This thing will fix it, right?
What?
You never did that.
Oh yeah, plenty of fantasy, plenty of fairy tale. Wanted to have something. Again, the fix. I mean, hey, that's why I turned to alcohol. That's why I did drugs in college. That's why I was looking for everything. Because there's always some kind of broken relationship that's here. And that's what really gave me the deepest wounds and the deepest hurts here, trying to find out, where do I belong? And I really thought that if I got married, that would be where I belonged finally, or I wouldn't have to perform anymore, or I would totally be secure.
Right, because I got married, and how did that work out for me?
Yeah, so not secure and not okay, and that wasn't the happily ever after. And there's these just these pieces to our human existence that God, he really designed, in marriage, he designed that, and it's supposed to be
a blessing.
Right. And that's what it's meant for, but a broken world. You can't, it's not always going to go the way we think it's going to go. That's still not the fix, because we still need to be running to God. And even if we don't have a messed up past, and, even if we are just two broken people trying to be in a relationship or a friendship or a family of any sort, we still need to be running to God as our Father, to give us direction on what to do and how to proceed and how to receive love from him before we can be in any kind of healthy relationship.
Right. And it's funny how many years it took, even after I knew that, because I had so many broken places, and I was still, even though I was working on my relationship with God and working on that aspect of it, I still wanted to believe that some kind of human thing, relationship of some kind, because of the attachment damage from my childhood, that was somehow or another going to make me whole. That was going to take these splintered pieces and put it all together. And then I was going to be this nice, neat, whole little person, and that was going to fix it. And it's incredible how many people we know and talk to in ministry who we exacerbate the brokenness. We make it worse and worse and worse, because our attempt to fix it can end up being the thing that makes it even worse and adds more damage and brokenness. And so I'm just like, okay, God, thank you for finally showing up. It doesn't mean I do it right all the time. It doesn't mean I don't still wish sometimes here or there that there was a human physical fix for something.
Right.
But it does mean that I've learned that I need to run to him first, that I need to trust him to fill that hole in my heart, to come and give me that sense of connection and purpose in life. That gives me a whole different sense of value than any of the rest of the mess.
And God's been really working on me, especially recently, with my expectations of relationships. And I say recently, but I mean, come on now, this has been a journey for almost 10 years now of him really working on this, because there's layers after layers after layers. This is a journey. It doesn't just stop because, oh, good job, you had 7 years, now you're ready to graduate. Like, no, that doesn't happen. This is a process. As long as we're here, we always have room to improve, and he always wants to heal something else in a deeper layer and a deeper layer. But he's been working with me on my expectations of what to expect from other people versus him. And it's always fascinating to me when I'm like, oh man, come on, but I wanted those expectations to be met. But there's so much more peace in coming to terms with that. Okay, so those expectations, that fantasy expectation essentially, will never be met. And there will always be issues in relationships. There will always be, I will always need to go to God first for my sense of belonging.
Right. Even if you have the marriage, or even if you have the family, or you have the children, or you have the job, or you have the ministry, or whatever it is. Yeah. Yeah.
That I need to be expectant that pattern that he's developed in me in my life is to go to him first. And that's the expectation that I need to keep, is that my expectation is that I'm totally broken. That's my expectation, that I will continue to be broken. I will continue to mess up. There's healing, but I'm never going to be perfect. And I will always need to keep going back to the source in order to feel that love and acceptance that I really need.
And feel a sense of belonging.
Yes.
And with attachment issues, whether it's from childhood abandonment or adoption or abuse or whatever the things are, it is one of those consistent pieces of damage, because God designed us to want to belong. That's a part of his plan. But when you have these extenuating circumstances, it's more than just that normal desire. It becomes a kind of hyper intense desire, and an idol, and just a solution to an area of real brokenness. And so for me, it's a matter of understanding, hey, there's the normal neediness that I was, as a human I have. And then there's also all of this extra brokenness, but God can meet me in any of those places and bring hope and healing no matter what. So that's what I'm counting on. And that has made my life so much better. No, I'm not married. And no, I don't have the, this, that, or the other, the house or the thing that would make it better. But I do have God. And that's where my hope and belonging and identity are. But we have a guest, right?
We absolutely have a guest today who is going to be sharing more on his personal journey. I'm super excited to have Kim Deerdorf on the show. He is a pianist. He's a Holt International artist as well. And so we are just blessed to have him and his story join us talking about adoption. Kim Deerdorf, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you so much. It's an honor to be here. It's a wonderful opportunity to share what God can do and has done. So I just appreciate the chance.
Yeah. Well, I know that your story about adoption is just so poignant and so beautifully shows God's heart for redemption.
Absolutely.
And his heart for adoption. And you just have a very unique view. And so we're so thankful for you to come and share your story.
Well, thank you so much. I guess I just start at the beginning real quick.
Please.
I was found in the garbage in Korea in 1964, and I was taken to an orphanage. And
I'm so sorry.
Luckily, there was a place for me to go. I spent the first couple of weeks of my life in a hospital where they thought I might be blind because I had something wrong with my eyes. And fortunately, God had a path already designed. And a couple from Michigan flew over to Korea, and along with a number of other families to adopt children. And they adopted a little baby girl, 23 months older than me, my sister Kathy, and me at the same time. And so we flew back home to Michigan, in the middle of the state, out in the middle of nowhere, and that's where I started my life. On a little farm, and out in the middle of nowhere, and
that fixed everything, right? You got adopted, so then your life was a fantasy and wonderful and amazing ever after, right? Happily ever after?
You would hope so. And maybe for the first couple of years it was more that way. Of course, I wasn't old enough to realize what was going on.
Right.
But I quickly noticed that my mom, she never was happy. She never had joy in her life, and for some reason, I had joy. I mean, just instinctively, I had joy. And I think she would see me having joy, and she hated that aspect of my life. She wanted it so bad that, and she saw that I had it. So she did everything that she possibly could to steal my joy.
I'm so sorry.
Wow.
So anything that I liked, she tried to make sure I didn't get it. If I needed something, if I wanted something, and it was super controlling. And
so her adoption of you, was that part of her process to try and find the joy?
I think initially it probably was to make her feel better about herself. Yeah. Possibly help her overcome some things, maybe.
Right, from her past,
But she didn't understand that joy comes from knowing and understanding a loving God.
Even though they were religious, right?
Very super legalistic, religious home. I was told every day of my life how worthless I was, even being found in the garbage, that I was never amount to anything, and that I was completely incapable of doing anything worthwhile.
Gosh, that's so destructive.
Well, I think it is, especially when it happens every day.
Yes.
And the other aspect of it was, she would always promise me something and she would never deliver.
So she could take it away, right?
Right. So every day she would promise something, and by the end of the day she'd go, I never said you could have that. I never said you could do that. And so I'd work all day to get to this thing, and it'd be taken away. So this happened, every day of my life.
So destructive.
It was very hard.
That's abuse. It's just flat out abuse and psychological, emotional abuse. And then if you add in physical and other kinds of abuse, it can completely destroy somebody.
And I thought it was going to destroy my life until I moved away, until I actually had an opportunity to move away.
I was at 18?
At 18, my parents had gotten divorced when I was 14. I moved away when I was 18, and I went to college for the first time. I had an opportunity to make my own choices, and I'd made bad choices because I didn't ever have any guidance or any time to practice making a good choice. I made bad choices. You
got controlled, so you would want to rebel against the control and go out there and be crazy. I mean, that would be normal.
It was normal, and I started hanging out with the wrong people, and at one point in time, God said, you can either take that path or you can take this path. And at that moment, I decided that I needed to find my relationship with Jesus, and he spoke into my life, and he transformed my heart. And from that moment on, it's been a road of recovery.
Amen.
Wow.
How
old were you?
I was just going to ask that. I was just going to ask that.
20 years old. So I'm 56 today. So 36 years I've been on the road to recovery.
Yay, us too. Not quite as long, but close.
It's a journey.
Yeah. So, I say my life is 20-20-20. The first 20 years of abuse, the next 20 years of healing and working through all this stuff, and the next 20 years of maybe hopefully enjoying what God has presented.
Yeah.
And doing help, because I know
ministry.
you reach out and you do help other people. It's not just you're enjoying it.
It's a very interesting thing. When I was a child, we had no music in the house. We had no TV, no radio. We had 15 records and an old out-of-tune piano. And for some reason, I found the piano and I started playing melodies off the piano when I was 3. And it was so beautiful. It took me to a place of peace and hope and connection with God. And so I just followed that path. And even though I was struggling because I had nobody to help me, right? It connected me with God and people in a way that nothing else has brought tremendous opportunities into my life.
Right, and that's a part of what you use for ministry and helping other people, right? It
is. At the beginning of this year, in January, before the
world changed.
Yeah, the everything dropped. One dead. My wife Sherry, she lost her job and her mom on the same day in January.
Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry.
And so we decided at that point that we wanted to focus in on ministry. Mm-hmm. And so she did all the research, and with the help from a friend of ours, we started a 501c1
501c3. Yeah, it's always confusing. We know.
So I could share my story and bring hope and healing and inspire other people to help sponsor children through Holt International, which was the adoption agency that saved my life.
Wow.
So I contacted them and asked them if I could partner with them, and they have an artist program.
Woohoo!
And they were happy to have me join, and so we've been focusing on doing that.
So you play the piano, and you can be an artist that can share your story and actually help raise awareness. And
it's an interesting thing about the piano.
Yeah.
So a few years ago, I was speaking at a church. I put my little video up on YouTube, and I started getting people writing to me from all over the world. And my little videos, just my little story. And I spoke at this little church, and a guy was there, and he said, I represent Kawai Pianos, which is one of the major manufacturers of pianos in the world. And he says, I've talked to some of the people at Kawai. I think I'd like to have you be an artist for Kawai.
And
so they called me up in a few days, and they said, well, we just have a few questions for you. We said, we need to know if you have a manager. We need to know if your tour schedule and, all these other things. And I thought, I have none of those. I have no manager. I have no church. I'm not going anywhere. This is the last time I'm ever going to deal with Kauai.
Right.
A month later, I get a call. They said, it's gone through 3 vice presidents' approvals, and they've added you as the 26th international piano artist for Kauai. And they wrote an article about it, and they said inspirational artist.
That's amazing.
I mean, I'm self-taught. I wasn't even able to become a music major in college because they told me I didn't have the background to become a music major.
Gosh.
So with this platform, God is allowing me to do ministry.
Well, and all those lies that you got told that you weren't going to amount to anything and that you had no value and whatever, God has actually proven them absolutely concretely false and wrong and lies because he's working through you in spectacular ways.
I was 47 when I was still single at 47, and I met my wife at 47. There's a thing that I learned throughout my life was about waiting, about patience. I spent 11 years in a room doing freelance work, audio and music work for radio, TV, and film. 11 years sitting in one room by myself. You learn a lot about patience. You learn a lot about waiting.
Yeah. And trusting God in that waiting.
Trusting God.
Yeah.
And all the opportunities that God has given me throughout my life, without a college degree, I've taught at 2 colleges.
I love that.
Boom.
I've worked with Walt Disney World. I've done commercials for Discovery, Nissan. I was hired to do all the sound work for all the exhibits for NASA at the Kennedy Space Center.
That's so awesome.
In 2009, God found my story, and I was sitting in my room. I was 2 months behind on all my bills, and within a week, I was on tour with a Christian group called New Song. Within a week, God took me from my room to the largest concert tour in the world, Winter Jam.
Winter Jam.
Yep.
Which is
huge. I did 73 cities in 6.5 months. My greatest fear was public speaking. I was speaking to 10 to 15 to 20,000 people a night and sharing my story on behalf of Holt International, the adoption agency that saved my life.
Gosh, God just weaves all of this together. The music that you needed to help for your survival, that then becomes the doors that are opened for you, and the thing that was.
And never be afraid to just be yourself.
Yeah.
Never be afraid to be. I play hymns. I play solo piano hymns, which doesn't sound glamorous. It doesn't seem like it fits very many situations.
But it touches people's hearts.
But it's found its way.
Praise
I got to partner with a company called Mega Voice, and they make solar-powered audio Bibles. They send all over the world, and they said, we need some music for our solar Bibles. They said, and they heard some of my music, so I partnered with them.
That is amazing.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah. God
just gives you gifts from the very beginning, because he knows where he wants us to go, the purpose that he has, and the gifts that he gives us are usually just a part of our calling and a part of our gifting. And when we're operating in them, it's amazing how you light up when you talk about music and you talk about all of these amazing things that have influenced you in your life through that. And that's because God's gifting was in your DNA ahead of time.
You have to trust God. You have to trust. You have to be brave enough to trust.
Oh, yes, you do.
We know.
People say, well, I never hear from God. How can you hear from God? I never hear from God. Well, most people do hear from God, but normally,
they just don't know.
Normally he calls you, and it calls you into an area that addresses some of your greatest fears.
Yeah, you don't want to hear him in that space.
No, way outside your comfort zone.
So the more you trust that voice, and the more you trust that leading, the more opportunities that he'll bring into your life.
Yes.
Right. And I didn't have TV in my home growing up either. So the first time was at 24.
Wow.
And here we are on television. God doesn't care what the restrictions are or what stops us. He calls us, and if we're willing to face sometimes panic attacks or brokenness, in my case, panic attacks for the first 58 episodes. And it's, God sits there and meets us in that and provides redemption and healing, which your life is such a testimony of how God has done that.
Well, and so is yours.
Yes.
And that's why we're here.
Yes.
Amen. I'm so thankful that for everything that he's done, because I I didn't want to go into any of those places, but because of people encouraging me and people like Paula and people who are also have the same experience of God calling them into those places that are not their comfort zone
At all.
That's what helped me, give me the courage to keep moving.
I am so sorry. The nice thing is God's not ever done.
Yeah.
No.
And you think he does incredible things, and then the next year he does more incredible things.
Yeah.
He's never finished with your story.
At all. And I love the fact that when we are surrendered and willing to let him walk us through the story he has for us, that he redeems and heals and opens opportunities and then walks us through those fears and that damage and comes out with more healing and more hope and more growth. And that is amazing.
I've gone through a tremendous amount of depression in my life. Tremendous amount of pain.
Yeah.
Just a lot of pain. But God is so good. And he brings that joy. He just brings that joy that only he can give. And it's like nothing else. And nothing can extinguish it.
No.
Nothing can take that joy away.
And people can't persuade you out of it.
They can't talk you out of it because you know inside where it comes from.
Right.
Yes.
And it's the power of God's Spirit that gets things done.
Absolutely, and gives us value and belonging. And the adoption wasn't what fixed things or made things better. God used it to save your life and used it to bring you to a place that he would then walk you into your calling. But it wasn't the fix that made it all just suddenly easy and better, right?
No, and it's an ongoing process, and there's always going to be challenges. I got married at 47, and all of my friends had already been married. They graduated from college. They had a family. They bought the house, and I was single at 47, and all of a sudden, overnight, I have a family. I buy a house. It's like God can take you from nothing and put you into something immediately.
Yes.
Even if you wait that distance, and please wait for God to lead.
Yes.
Because running ahead of him is bad.
Oh, it's totally bad.
Really bad.
Disaster.
Yes,
we know.
Completely.
The hard way.
Absolutely. But he can change everything on a dime. That's sort of what we've been joking about this year, and we've actually found more dimes this year.
Oh my!
Out of the street, change it on a dime.
On a dime. And just because he changes something and it doesn't go according to plan or as we expected, doesn't mean that he doesn't have good things on the other side of that. On the other side of that, so we're just so thankful for you to be here. I'm thankful that God saved you and that he continues to bring good things and bless you and bless your ministry.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it so much.
And touch and heal people through you and your story. And that's what we're all about, is taking the brokenness the enemy causes. And
we call it the fertilizer of our past to bloom today.